Hi, Roy here, and welcome again to another edition of the Right Has Left podcast. I am your host, Roy Garten, where we talk all things Trumpism, the Trump White House, the Republican Party, and yes, the Democratic Party as well. What we do on this podcast is take more of a deep dive into particular stories that the mainstream media doesn't really like to cover or doesn't have time to cover, whatever their reasons are. It's far beyond me. But I like to do that because sometimes when you get into the news and the truth isn't really all out there and you don't hear the full story, I like to cover a lot of that. And I also like to take these podcasts basically on a Friday evening or Saturday morning so I can get all the news in that perhaps might be breaking, such as this particular story. A divided federal appeals court ruled Friday that President Donald Trump's administration must stop construction of the $400 million White House ballroom. Now, how many times have we heard about this ballroom and some of the things that are going on with it? Yes, and that price tag, once again, $400 million. Because Congress has not approved the project, which we all kind of knew about. And a decision, of course, Trump, he blasted as unjust. You know, that's my damn ballroom. I'll build whatever the hell I want because I'm the president of the United States. I'm the king, the ruler of this country. So anyway, they basically said on the appeals court that he doesn't have the unilateral authority to build a 90,000 square foot. That's 8,400 square foot per meter for some of you who might be viewing my podcast over in Europe, where the White House East Wing used to stand before he ordered its demolition last fall. Now, according to the decision by the three-judge panel from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, the Republican president said on social media that the administration will, of course, immediately appeal what he called as unjust to the U.S. Supreme Court, because by God, I can do that. Now, how many times have we heard stories about this ballroom? And many people, including other Republican pundits, have said, I think Congress has to approve anything that's done to the White House because the White House is the people's house. Now, of course, President Donald Trump has the right to live there while he is president of the United States for the 4 years that he is in term, but the White House is still the people's house. But Donald Trump doesn't think that. He says, it's my damn house. I'll do whatever the hell I want with it. And you know, of course, he's putting up all these statues because he wants people to remember him. And so as that goes, and he just said recently, you know, because all of the, you know, his approval ratings are way down and people are upset at what's going on with Congress. He has even said, you know, and this, he just said this yesterday, people don't like the Republican Party, but they love me. It's the senators and the Congress that they don't really like, you know. So, yeah, he's kind of went on, as you're well aware of, a little tangent about that. And other late breaking news, let's talk about good old Todd Blanche, who was, and according to him, still is. He's got, of course, backed up on that Trump's personal attorney. Well, he did squeak by and got approved as our new Attorney General, replacing Pam Bondi. Now, Todd Blanche was confirmed early Saturday morning. Again, this is why I tape these things as late as possible. As part of a mad blitz by lawmakers to ramp up their work and jet from Washington, D.C. They're getting ready for their August recess. Now, he'll officially replace Pam Bondi, as I just mentioned, as Attorney General. Blanche, who is Trump's former personal lawyer, nearly saw his confirmation hopes go up in smoke as Republicans struggled to swallow his role in rolling out that nearly $2 billion anti-weaponization and sweeping IRS audit immunity for the president and his family. And by the way, I do need to mention on that as well that he's being sued, and so is the Trump administration over that. There's still a lot of lawsuits outstanding on that. However, a last-minute rally emerged from Senator Bill Cassidy, who is a Republican from Louisiana, who announced on the Friday that he would back Blanche's confirmation after spending days keeping tight-lipped on his decision, although he was concerned about weaponization at the Department of Justice. Now, of course, as you're well aware of, Blanche produced this letter that he had signed that, okay, that deal is long gone, it's not going to happen, although Trump himself has said, well, I don't know about that, you know, I still have a right to do that, by God, because the IRS released my tax results without approval, and by God, that $10 million, that's mine. You know how Trump is. Anyway, so That's what swung the votes. And so he went ahead and got approved because he said that that deal was not going to happen. So they all changed their mind. One vote, folks, one vote got Todd Blanche in there. So you got another butt kisser to President Trump on the staff and the administration and the cabinet. So there you go. Some other late breaking news that has come out is our job cuts. Yeah. U.S. employers unexpectedly cut 23,000 jobs last month, and the Labor Department revision shaved off 103,000 jobs off payrolls in May and June. Now, the unemployment rate dipped to 4.1% only because Americans left the job market. Now, the June job numbers from the Labor Department Friday marked a sharp reversal for the American job labor market and a political setback again for President Donald Trump less than 3 months before his Republican Party seeks to keep full control of Congress in the midterm election. Now, forecasters had expected job creations to approach 100,000 last month. Local public schools kept 50,000 jobs in July, restaurants and bars 26,000, retailers cut 19,000. The 4.1% unemployment rate was the lowest since June of 2025. But it did drop for the wrong reasons. Fewer people were competing for work as 264,000 dropped out of the labor market. The share of those working or looking for work fell to 61.4%, and that's been the lowest number since February 2021. Let's take a look at that and do a little bit of a deep dive. Why is this all happening, ladies and gentlemen? It is because people are nervous. The Iran war is one of the biggest factors about this. Also, people's payroll and their paycheck is not keeping up with inflation. People are buying less and less with their money. Why? Because oil prices are going up. Why? Because of fertilizers for their farms. That is increasing food prices. Rent is going up. So therefore, your dollar is shrinking. And that is the main reason. These numbers are horrific. The only bright news in the whole thing, of course, is the jobs in our health field. Hospitals, healthcare, the jobs there are still pretty steady, but the rest of it is going to shit in a handbasket. And so, again, this is not good news for Republicans. We are getting closer and closer and closer to the midterm elections, and people's are in this country are hurting, and of course that's going to probably affect the election. Now, again, as I told you earlier, Trump is of course saying they're mad at the Republicans Party. They're not mad at me as the president. Mr. President, this is all falling back on you because you haven't done jack shit since you've been in office, except take care of what your base and the MAGA about getting rid of anybody with brown skin. That's been your forte. And, cutting government assistance to the elderly. You've done a lot of things that you think you're doing right because you got money out your butt, billions of dollars, where everybody else in this country does not have that, a luxury that you have. So therefore, that's why things are, slowly falling apart. Other things that are going on in the news, of course, is the Iran conflict, as we're all aware of. And, let's talk about that a little bit. Some things that are going on with that is dealing back to Rubio. Yeah. Little Marco, Secretary of State. Well, he said Tuesday that progress has been made in talks between Iran and Oman on the Strait of Hormuz. And, of course, as you're all aware of course, that is the Iranian conflict that's going on. And but he says, of course, things haven't really been finalized yet. Of course, it never is. Adding, we're still hoping that will happen very shortly. And, of course, President Trump is echoing what little Rubio is saying. He made the comments after President Trump again backed down on attacks against Iran to allow for negotiations, saying, I want to give them every last chance before a decapitation. See, again, he's talking big talk, He loves to do that. And this is all, of course, dealing with the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what we're working on here now is, the United States doesn't have basically in kind of a parley with this particular situation. Right now, we're working with Iran to get some settlement on the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Of course, Trump says we're going to see what happens. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis claimed Tuesday they carried out another drone strike on a sensitive target at an airport in southern Saudi Arabia. The Saudis have not commented on that particular claim. Now, Israel's military says it has also started carrying out attacks on southern Lebanon in response to what it's called a blatant violation of the ceasefire by Hezbollah. One person has so far been reported killed, 11 injured in the offense. And of course, earlier, Israeli media reported that 2 Israeli soldiers were killed and several others wounded after an IED exploded inside a booby-trapped building in the Lebanese village of Majali Salim. A deal may be happening on opening the strait between Iran and Oman. Now, that's where everything is hinging right now, what I just said. The deal between Iran and Oman. Now, that deal, of course, deals with the surcharges and the tax levies that are going on between those two countries. Who will control what, who pays what in relationship to the boats that are going through and the ships through the strait. The U.S. doesn't have anything to deal with that. Now, the proposed plan on those details, which are still being worked out, would reportedly give Tehran control of the ships entering the Gulf through the strait. Who ultimately controls the outbound traffic and what role Iran has, it is still being determined. The two countries reportedly agreed Wednesday on a new route for ships to go through transit through that strait. Now, so that's where we're presently sitting. Now, again, we have heard Donald Trump many, many times. We got a deal. We don't have a deal. We have a deal. We don't have a deal. This crap's been going on since the war started. Trump has got himself in a corner and he can't get out. That's the whole problem with this Iranian war. When you're dealing with the Middle East, everything is so touchy over there. You hold your tongue in the wrong place and everything falls apart. That's what's going on there. It's sad that we have come to this, but I honestly, God, don't think that Donald Trump is going to be able to get his little butt out of this situation as hard as he tries. And everything, there's just so much friction going on. And the friction even continues with this guy. Yeah, Secretary of Defense Pete Buy Me a Drink Hegseth. He had to say Thursday he's extremely happy with Pete, but because there was reporting that he wasn't. He pushed back on that reporting, saying said that he was upset with him over the munition shortages. He says, "Hey, I'm extremely happy with the job that Pete Hegseth is doing. Everything has been extraordinary, including our attack on Venezuela, where the result was accomplished in less than 1 day, allowing us to bring one of the worst criminals anywhere in the world, Nicolas Maduro, to justice. And I don't have any problems at all with that guy." Well, there has been legitimate news reporting that he is not happy because he doesn't like the fact that there has been reports leaked that our munitions supply is depleting. And ladies and gentlemen, yes, it is. That's common knowledge, and everybody that has access to those reports that it's very true. But Trump doesn't like that news out because it says it makes the U.S. look very weak, and that's why he's not happy with Petey. Because Petey's even said our supplies are diminishing. And that's why, for God's sakes, he's been going through Congress saying, "Hey, we need billions and billions of more dollars for this war in Iran because we're running out of ammunition and supplies and rockets and everything's, we're getting low." Well, that happens. I mean, God's sakes, folks, what Trump? It doesn't take a rocket scientist, no pun intended, to figure this crap out. And so, I don't know. Yeah, he technically, I'm not defending Petey, but he has no reason to get mad at him because it's common knowledge. And why else are you going through before Congress? Do you want billions of more dollars for this Iranian war, which nobody really likes and the American people don't like, is because you're running out of war supplies. Another breaking news, of course, is Abdul El-Sayed was vastly outspent by his Republican opponent, and guess what? This guy got elected in Michigan. He didn't have the backing of the Senate's top Democrat either, who had lost in a statewide primary before. That guy had a lot of money too, and guess what? He ran a starkly progressive campaign in a state Donald Trump won narrowly 2 years ago. In short, by the party's own traditional measure of electability, he had no business winning, this guy, but he did. Elsie entered Wednesday as Michigan's likely Senate Democratic nominee after a contentious primary with Republican Haley Stevens, that's who Trump actually backed. And his win far narrower than expected, but he did win, and he was confirmed by the Associated Press just before 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Trump had a few choice words to say about this guy's win. Watch this.
On television, I say, Donald Trump polls on the economy aren't good. The economy is the greatest economy we've ever had by far. The economy aren't good. They're fake polls. The polls were wrong again last night when they thought it would be a landslide victory for a hater of Jews and a hater of Israel. When I watch Abdul, he's fully
Now, we're going to take a quick pause here on this story. What the hell is going on with Trump's hair? Did you folks see this? We have to talk about this. This is Trump's hair just recently, and as you know, this is a screen grab from that report. Now, look at his hair just a couple days ago. Yeah. And now back to this. Yeah, that guy's either got plugs, a wig on, or something, and it's a different little shade there. He's trying to get rid of the gray. This guy is so freaking self-conscious about how he looks, and when he's in public, he's 80 years old basically. He's an overweight old man, and yet he tries to look as young as possible. And absolutely crazy. There was more news on social media about his hairpiece than there was about what he was actually talking about with El Sayed. And okay, we're gonna get back to the story on El Sayed. I just found this kind of funny, but anyway, so progressives such as El Sayed in the Bernie Sanders mold have really got a lot of ground that they have secured, and their influence is getting stronger and stronger. And people can bitch and moan and groan all they want and say stuff, even the conservative Democrats and the old suitors from the old guard. But the fact of the matter is the younger millennials, Gen Y, Gen Z, they're the ones that are up and coming and going to be voting. And you can piss and moan and groan all you want, but the American people, especially the younger people, they are getting on board with the Democratic Socialists. Now, I know Trump likes to call them communists, which is bullshit. They're not communists. They don't have anything to do with communism. Maybe some of the more radical socialists embrace some of the principles that the Communist Party does, which is basically, taking care of the people and providing free services. But that still, Democratic Socialists are not communists in any way, shape, or form. Trump likes to say that because he's a whine baby and he's pissed off. And, of course, he gets his more conservative MAGA people to do the same thing. They're communists because they want to help the American people and give some free things out. Why? Because our older and middle class and lower class people don't have any money left. I just gave you an early report about the jobs market. And it's nice that the government will help take care of these people. And that's what progressive Democrats, really like to do. They want free health care, which Sweden, Denmark, Canada, I can go on and on. Almost all the countries in the world provide free health care for its people, except here in the United States because we're a capitalist society and we think everybody should write a check out for anything that they want in health care. That's what they think. And that's why they're cutting Medicare and Medicaid, is because they think that that shouldn't be free. You need to pay for it like everybody else because all the rich people got the money. You should be able to too. But as I said, most other governments provide, free health care for its people. Yes. Your taxes pay for that. Yes, if that was to happen, maybe taxes would go up a little bit. But it's nice in the real world, the wealthy who have the money like to help the people that don't have the money. But except here in the U.S., we think, I got money, it's mine, and I'm not going to help anybody. I got it, and I ain't going to give it to anybody else. So screw you, because that's their attitude in a capitalistic society. Well, the young people are beginning to say, hey, I like the Democratic Socialist Party, and these people got a great idea. I want to help my fellow man or my fellow woman. I want to do that because I think that's what we should do in this world, is take care of others. So anyway, that's an easy case to make in the bluest parts of the country. It's far harder in a state as politically divided as Michigan is. Now, with Senator Gary Peters retiring, this is a seat Democrats have to hold in order to maintain a reasonable chance to flip the control of the Senate this November. I believe they're going to flip the House, and that's pretty much a gimme, but they're not, they still need 4 Senate seats to, take control of the Senate. Now, Trump, as I mentioned, did win Michigan in 2024 by about 80,000 votes. No Republicans won a Senate race here in 30 years, but the margins have been close enough that no one is either party is really going to treat this as a safe area. El Sayed is very popular. He's got the union behind him, and so he's now on track to face Republican Mike Rogers. So this is going to be a tight race. It's not a gimme for El Sayed, but it's going to be a tighter race now than expected. And then he's got a lot of people behind him. As I say, he's got the union, so we are going to have to see what's going to happen in that area. It's quite interesting what we're going to be able to see there. Now, in other news, of course, that we are back hearing is Dr. Anthony Fauci. This guy's 85 years old, and they have went ahead and filed contempt of Congress charges against him, which is pretty sad. And the reason that has happened is because he kept pleading, I'm taking the fifth on everything, because he knew it was a witch hunt in this Republican-controlled hearing. And so now they filed a contempt of Congress charges against him. The Senate has passed it, and now it's going to go on to, the Justice Department as what's going to happen. He has immunity already that Biden gave him, because Biden already knew what was going to happen with the change to the Republican Party. And what this is all about is just one whine baby about the COVID-19 and where it actually originated. It's all about, it's a little pity ass thing. So Dr. Fauci, there you go. So Gary Peters from Michigan repeatedly tried to table this vote on having charges brought against him, but it didn't happen. The panel ultimately approved it by Chair Rand Paul. And Rand Paul from Kentucky, the Republican, he's the guy that's really the master of the bitching behind all this. This guy does not like Dr. Fauci. He never have, never will. And because it's a Republican-controlled hearing and he is the chair, he's the one that voted to barrel forward and hold him in contempt. And he wanted to get this done before the August recess. And again, this is just another little case of people acting like sixth grade bullies. And this is what it's all about. I have never seen such piddly ass shit going on as with this. They have all these hearings. We have a nation that is in an economic mess. We got this war in Iran, and these people still deal with this little crap, This administration so far has been a do-nothing administration, other than rounding up, people with different color skin because we don't think that they belong here. And, all these hardworking immigration things. And, they still go on the fact that we've got thugs, drug dealers, felons, killers, murderers, and we're rounding them up. No, 4% of those is what you're rounding up. The other 96% are people who have done absolutely nothing wrong, don't even have a criminal record, got kids and that you're rounding up, and you don't want them here because you got to be a white privileged person to live here, and that's it. So, and dealing away with, don't get me started, the DEI, all that crap. I can go on and on. Anyway, and so, so they got that done, and one other thing was done was a third of the budget reconciliation bill and the inclusion of the continuing resolution of a measure that delays implementation of the ban on the hemp-derived THC has also kicked off a hornet's nest. And so, as I said, the Senate could have done so much, and they've done absolutely nothing in this current session. Now we're on an August recess. You're not going to see these people until back in September, and then they're going to have about 20 more days, and then the midterms happen. So then they're all trying to go home and say, "Hey, I'm Republican. I look what Donald Trump and us have done this year." They have nothing to give the American people. You know what they're going to hear when they start having these little city town hall meetings? They're going to hear a lot of upset people saying, why am I paying almost $3 for a loaf of bread? Why doesn't my paycheck go so far? Why is gas now worth $4 a gallon? How come food is so expensive? Why is my rent continuing to go up? How come I have to drain my savings? How come my credit cards are all maxed out? That's what they're going to hear. And these Republicans are not going to have a damn answer to give to them except, you just hang in there, man. We're going to be all right. Yeah, while they get their, their $100,000 paychecks and their free health care. Because they're in Congress, that's it. They don't care. They don't give a rat about you, the American people. They care about themselves and holding on to their seats so they can continue to live comfortably, have security around them, and have their little egos fed. Like, look at me, I'm a senator. Hey, look at me, I'm a congressperson, and that's why I think they're in for a rude awakening. Trump is already a lame duck, and even if they do get the House, the Dems, then he's going to be in trouble. Because the Senate won't be able to get anything done because the House will just veto with them and control everything they try to do. In a way, I kind of think it's funny because they got this coming to them. All right, they do. So, all right. So, in other news that's been going on, another Trump appointee who may be losing her job. We'll have to wait and see. So the top federal prosecutor in the nation's capital carted a box full of evidence to the White House this Monday in a bid to prove to President Donald Trump, he don't want to hear it though, that the damage to the reflecting pool was caused by shoddy construction and not by vandals. Sources familiar with the matter, as you're well aware of, told the news media. Now, the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Ginny Pirro, this lady right here, another former Fox person. He just, everybody, half his administration is made up of former Fox network people. And she's a staunch ally of the president, but she's also got her job to do. And she made the case, and it was a heated private meeting with a lot of yelling back and forth. And hours after Mr. Trump had publicly rebuked her for dropping criminal charges against Olympic canoeist David Hearn. She was later photographed leaving the White House, carting a large white box and some other bags, which sources said contained all the evidence collected from the Interior Department that they didn't want to give out earlier. That, said Hearn and some other people, they didn't do anything wrong. And a spokesperson for Pirro's office declined comment, of course. U.S. Attorney for D.C., Ginny Pirro, departs with saying that, she doesn't know if she's going to have a job or not. Trump said he was really going to think about it. And, the prosecutors in that office actually blamed the Interior Department because, as I told you, they were, the Department of Interior leader now, he's a Trump ally. And they were holding back evidence. They didn't want anybody to see it. And she demanded to see it. And it just basically proved what I was just telling you. So she dropped the investigation. You got, and again, if you didn't do any deep diving on this, Trump didn't even bid out this construction on revamping and getting the reflecting pool back up to standards. He gave it to one contractor, a contractor that, helped him out in the elections. This is what Trump does. As long as you're kissing my hind end and giving me millions of dollars to me and my family and my campaign, I'll take care of you and give you some work. And this is what happened. And, as much as they charged the U.S. government to get this done, they did a half-assed job. That's what these people do. Trump probably even tells behind the scenes, just do as little as possible. I'm going to give you all, bid high, and I'll take care of you because you took care of me. But Trump wanted to blame it on, as he has said in his talks, the leftists did all this. This is what happened. And of course, Ginny Pirro actually had some compassion or something or some truth in her, and she did her job and said, no, it really was shady stuff. And of course, this all come back to Trump and I think he's gonna probably keep her on. I don't think he's gonna fire, unless something else happens. But this is the trouble when people in the Trump administration actually try to do the right thing, which is very, hardly at all. But when they try to do the right thing, Trump gets mad at them because they won't lie on his behalf or cheat on his behalf, or tell the American people what they want him what he wants them to say, and there you go. All right, this other thing is going on, which is another stupidest thing I've ever seen, and this has also cost millions of dollars, and this is happening here in the middle of the month. Is this Freedom 250? Now, the speed limit along Pennsylvania Avenue is 25 miles per hour because, of course, of all the motorcades and security that goes through there. But now they're going to have this open wheel race cars roaring through the longest straightway, and they have been repaving the roads and blocking off things for this stupid thing. The upcoming Washington IndyCar race, which was again organized by President Donald Trump because he's trying to take care of his redneck friends and the MAGA people, just like he did with this fair that was a farce and cost millions of dollars that nobody went to, and $20 cans of beer and stuff like that, or $12, whatever the hell it was. Anyway, so they're getting ready to go about 8 times that fast. They're going to be going about 100 miles per hour. And he said, and of course, he's tried to make a joke. If we did that during the regular day, I think people would be put in jail, perhaps for the rest of their lives. And so anyway, yeah, you're going to have an Indy 250 Grand Prix race, and it's August 22nd and 23rd. And if you're wondering where this is going to go, well, I actually have a graphic here. This is the race course track right through here. And like I said, they've been paving this and, built for the track, because obviously the roads that are there would not hold up to these types of cars. And, yeah, they're going to be going around 200 miles an hour. I said 100. I guess they are going to be around 200 miles an hour. And they've actually had to solder down all the manhole covers, because at that speed, it would blow the manhole covers off. So they had to spend millions of dollars to do that. And again, this is in celebration of America's 250th birthdays. So let's just have this happen. I'm just wondering if you could have a car that's going to wreck or go off the road. I God forbid what's going to happen. And, he did this UFC fight at the White House South Lawn for his 80th birthday in June, and that was a farce. And the fair, that didn't go over well. Half the musical acts, canceled. And then he headlined another rally for July 4th at National Mall, and that didn't go very well. People were walking out of that because he wouldn't shut up. And so what is sad here is the fact of the matter is that historian Michael D. Haddam said Trump's events have put very little focus on addressing the specific history of the founding of the country for the 250th birthday. It's been focused on him, Donald Trump, and what he wants. And he said it's sad that our children aren't learning very much about the 250th birthday. Hopefully teachers are telling our kids what this is really all about, and the recognition that it actually deserves. And a car race isn't actually showing our patriotism. And yeah, a lot of people enjoy, Indy racing. I particularly don't. They enjoy slamming down a couple 6-packs of beer watching this. And yes, Trump's going to allow, which has never happened before, they are going to allow beer sales. And I'm sure it's going to be Bud Light, because Budweiser has been spending millions on this thing in a tie-in marketing campaign with Trump. So they're trying to make up for all of this when they actually put, somebody that was LGBTQ on a can of beer, and of course, big outrage on that. Yeah, this race is absolutely crazy. I may watch it just to see if any. I hope nothing unfortunate happens. That's what I'm worried about. The track is very narrow, and millions of dollars have been spent on this. Of course, now Donald Trump says no, the taxpayers haven't had to pay anything for this. The Penske Corporation is financing all of this, and the roads, special roads that are being built for it, et cetera, et cetera. And it's the first time it's ever been done, and they're paying you know, the key word here is Trump said vast majority. And of course, the Interior Department and you, the taxpayer, are paying for the rest of this. Again, he is spending our money just for crazy shit, and it's unbelievable. Okay, and they had to actually fix up some of the roads for this race. It's you know, like I said, millions of dollars have been spent on this, and you're going to hear more about this, about how much money is being spent on doing this silly race. And they've had to fix the soil, they've had to widen roads, they've had to move things from some of our national monuments so it doesn't get hurt. There's just been a lot of stuff going on, and to get ready for this race, it's just another crazy, silly thing that's been going on. And of course, some other news that's been going on here, of course, is Mitch McConnell. Now, he is out of the hospital, out of rehab, and he's home now. And again, nobody has seen him, but he is continuing to get better, according to his staff. But again, no video, no pictures of him, and it's just, messages. Elaine and I are grateful for the many well wishes. And what they're going to do is they're basically hiding Mitch until January, when then he leaves office. Okay, this guy is retiring in January anyway, and I, honest to God, think you're not going to see Mitch McConnell at all until he's retired and gone. He hasn't voted. I don't think he'll be voting in September when they reconvene. He might. I don't know. But to vote, you got to see this guy. So I don't know what's going to go on. But it's still, the mystery with Mitch McConnell still is going on. And this guy is, I don't know. Some people, I like some of the jokes that are going on. There's some people that are showing like canisters, and he went home and there's like a canister that's sitting there, and that's kind of hilarious that I've seen. Anyway, let's move on to some other breaking news, and it's actually kind of going to be like my top story here. And I want to talk to you a little bit about FLACK. Now, if you don't know what FLACK is, they are LPR cameras which log every vehicle's plate, which stores data for about 30 days. And this has kind of been in the news, but not so much in the mainstream news. And they can store your information, including your license plates, for up to 30 days without any kind of a warrant. And there are people who have been a little upset about these FLACK cameras that are all over our nation's cities, because they are tied into a national network which can track your every move. And that's what is kind of upsetting people, is the fact of the matter is that you can be tracked. And this guy here is one of those people who have been going around, and he says he's been hunting, but he's been getting a lot of support because he got arrested. And he's been one of these guys that has been going around and taking down some of these so-called FLACK cameras. And it's a pretty interesting story about what this guy does. So let's kind of do a little bit of a deep dive about what these FLACK cameras are doing and how it is important to you, about how much information they can actually get from just your vehicle alone, and then you, the person. So, as I mentioned, they store your license plate number and your movements. They can do this legally up to 30 days without getting a court warrant. Now, the Talon network connects to these FLACK cameras. That's a nationwide network, and which enables cross-jurisdiction tracking of any driver's movements. And that guy just showed you, he kind of goes by Normac. He's a folk hero, and he has amid San Jose's enforcements for surveillance expansion, and he was taking down cameras as well. And again, they don't need a warrant to do this. And that's how FLACK's Safety's Automated License Plates Readers, ALPR system works. Every vehicle that passes gets logs stored for 30 days, and it goes across a nationwide network. Now, we have heard on the news where this has actually been a valuable tool. There has been people who have done child predation and felonies and things like that, and they've been hard to find, and these license plate readers have been able to pick them up. So I'm not saying that everything is bad with these, but there's been a lot of people that say a lot of movement, like for illegal immigration and stuff, is, so they say, have been tracking people. And that's, a lot of people say that's just invasion of privacy. Now, FLACK's cameras aren't isolated municipal tools. They're nodes in a nationwide surveillance app era network that cities subscribe to. It's basically like a software as a service product. The more cameras deployed, the more completely drivers' movements can be reconstructed after the fact. Now, here's what it looks like in practice. Data is retained approximately 30 days and remains searchable by connected law enforcement agencies. The system officially tracks vehicles, not people. So they say, through privacy advocates call that distinction meaningless when your car goes everywhere you do. Independent researchers claim cameras can be physically compromised in under 30 seconds, exposing credentials and video streams. Community-level research and not verified by regulators. Columbia Heights, Minnesota canceled its FLACK contract after community pushback, according to Fox 9 News up there. One documented a case of formal resistance producing results. Anyone with access is able to track whoever they want. This is the other problem. They're saying people, third parties, and private people who can hack this stuff can get into this system and start, maybe looking up their ex-wife's license plates, or perhaps, somebody they want to hassle, and that's where they're having some issues with. It's not a very secure network at this point in time. And again, a lot of people say they're secretly tracking people without their consent. And this is the other thing is, do you want somebody who can track you without your consent, know where you're driving to, where you're going, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is why some people are becoming like little private Robin Hoods and Zorros out there and knocking these cameras down. And I can understand that. Now, this guy, I'm going to cut back to him for a minute. His real name is Wesley N. Jackson, okay? He's 20 years old, and he's from Jarrettstown, West Virginia. And a lot of people on Facebook are getting behind him because he was actually arrested and they said that he was knocking down about 20 of these cameras. And he said he was out rescuing animals and stuff, and he wasn't touching those cameras, but they said he did. And he got arrested on July 16th, and they charged him with 2 felonies. That's what it wound up to. And he did get released immediately on a $15,000 bond. And, of course, everybody's getting behind and helping him as well. So that's kind of the story on these FLACK cameras. And you've got to really kind of like think about this. Do you want, do you want these cameras like, following your every move? And if they're used for legitimate law enforcement purposes, I get that. And like I said, they have been used for great law enforcement purposes in capturing escaped felons and people who have committed, bad crimes. The problem is they're not very secure, and there have been people that have actually hacked into this system, and then they're, looking at all your private information for non-law enforcement reasons because the network isn't that secure. That's what the problem is. Invasion of privacy. And they can hold this information even on legal reasons for up to 30 days. Your movements, where you've been driving to, your license plates. From your license plates, they can get your personal information. They know where you live. And it's kind of like the Big Brother thing. So that's something to think about. All right, that's your news for this week. I hope you enjoyed this particular podcast on The Right Has Left. I'm Roy Garton, your host. Until next week, you really try to have a good week. Thanks for watching.